Again in studio. Not easy to build different forms of service and items in beauty, of course. The beauty can be the outlook or simple beauty of Taoism, or even the design together with program. Not easy to understand any type of fashion, but of course, there are also millions of samples for the models or simple brands and are unrelated to social needs. To understand projects in beauty world is not easy, but it's also not easy to understand some sort of politics in Taoism and program together with the hospitals to understand extreme conditions of some people that have privilege. It's not easy. But also, if you are thinking about more and more colors in beauty, that might be extremely difficult. You might even get some injury if you are going to be obsessed with fame, colors, and money. So for me, 100% not too much colors, or even in my book described zero colors. Of course, that is strange for beauty sectors, but zero colors for me are very important. Of course, also building items for other people that can under their rights demand the colors and whatever they want to purchase. And of course there are 10 different forums or even profits on the sector of beauty, but you should not believe any prophecy for sure. It is very unsure what's going to be next day, so it's very important to enjoy today, which is the most difficult, of course. To understand angry people, it's not easy, but also angry people in beauty is not easy. And you should actually go away from 90% of society when it comes about beauty. The angels of beauty are also not simple. So if you are thinking about million simple design or item, that is very simple topic without colors. If you think about colors, of course everything might go wrong with the work or even with the law. Of course that's some sort of the colors, and that's how you also understand where people make most of mistake together with law and colors and law and more colors and more law, and that's very political theme. To understand different forms of the nerve together with the beauty and of course with the simple medicine of body, it's also important. The strategy together with psychology, it's also not easy if you are charging for history, but also if you are offering something for 13, 14, or 15 years old. Of course, they are under 21, and the offers of beauty might have various discounts or different forms of the work or navigation together with their standard. Of course, the standards of 13, 14s, and 15s are extremely difficult standards and not so much appropriate for different forms of simple wallets. And I'm very sorry about that. But it's very important to understand that under 21, usually people are not your partners or they are not going to improve your business. So it's very important to build simple designs for them, but also having some therapy for them. To understand the path of career together with beauty is not easy, but also the 25 plus people should actually build some simple term for their photos. To understand different forms of photos, it's not easy because some people also analyze different forms of the animals on photos, but that don't have a lot to do with beauty, or it have if you put that under abstraction. Of course abstractions are very difficult when it comes to beauty, and if you do some combination together with programs, of course that is not simple. You can also heal autism or some disease with beauty. And Sound wave. The sound wave theory extremely difficult, but in some fortunate areas also more standard. The standards in sound wave are not simple, but the more knowledgeable you are, actually, you'll understand more ethics and you might understand also different forms of the means and healing. The healing is actually a product, some sort of product, but also some sort of an obsession for some people. And if people are obsessed with something, that is not easy, especially if people are obsessed with something extremely bigger. Usually, you must share something on the local area, and the most easy to share with locals and the entire world it's actually to make a film. Of course, do not think too much about any form of disease if you are a professional in health. So it's actually the problem of thinking or extreme poverty disease. The safety design, together with programs and beauty, is very important to understand different models, sometimes also very important, but also to understand their crisis in safety. To understand different forms of safety is very important together with super code sometimes, but of course some models also look for discounts or the bonus code, which is very popular in beauty life. To understand different forms of K products, it's not easy because there are also KK certifications that we are offering together with Beauty Insights. And of course, you can also have some question for me if you are under 21 about beauty. To understand different positions, it's also not easy, but you should actually know 9 basic positions if you are posing. Any type of post together with social media, it's extremely dangerous area. So sometimes you must also simply print your photos and give it to your agent. To build more pure skins, it's also not easy, and you should actually use some simple creams or some simple exercise. To understand different forms of the shows, it's also not easy, but there is also very important to have some simple security. Of course, some locals might be very political about money, so maybe also wise not to show them everything. That might be even the most important to solve and save your company from the total destruction occasionally if you have very difficult locals. And that of course happen. To understand different forms of the healings is also not easy, especially if you do that with the picture, but also important not to think too much about extreme ledgers, but actually very simple ledgers together with the beauty photography. There is also some sort of technology gas strategy that actually technology has. So if you are coding, just give that gas away. To understand that beauty is not easy and there might be even some gas if you are coding, of course you see that that's likely a problem. To understand different forms of integrations with forms are also not easy, but also to understand different forms of simple people. To understand agents or figures are not easy, but also to understand simple forms of the menus. The menus together with the code can become very difficult, but to build some stability together with theorem for modeling, it's also not easy. There are also different forms of suppliers, but the shifters also in agent industry for the models. Of course, models and beauty can also have inflation from 1% till 98%. And of course, that inflation is not simple. Designs are not worth a lot, especially if they are extremely angry, usually, or extremely political. So it's very important to build more beauty and to be more open. And that's where 90% of very handsome people actually false. They do not actually require simple terms of the poor world. The poor world means simple form of the family, but you actually share everything in a film. So 90% of beauty actually is in sector for the therapy. Of course, they can improve their career and skins, but if they do not make a minimum of 1,000 photos, they cannot actually build more and more in beauty sector. To understand different forms of work crisis is also not simple, but to understand different forms of noise, you should actually think about sound as something like noise, but also something like a therapy if you are more elegant. Of course, elegant is extremely difficult, especially for people that are building simple face beauty or simple form design for better creams. Also, Aphrodita actually offer a lot of forums for people. And if you are thinking about different forms of Java together with Law, you should know that law is some sort of disease because Java is actually extremely unrelated to any law, but also unrelated to beauty. Of course, the Java can actually become more and more money, but beauty can also become more and more money. So you don't need a lot of law, you don't need a lot of disease, you don't need a lot of extreme erotics, you just need simple forums of beauty together with an interface, code, or simple figure that actually understand simple positions. The positions, of course, are not easy, but also to understand different forms of the code, it's never easy.